Now, what I'm about to tell you isn't going to surprise too many of you, but for some of you, it might actually make you think. You know, I did some research here recently for a story that I'm writing over on medium.com. And, you know, Las Vegas is an interesting city, but when I recently went out to Las Vegas to begin researching this story, I came up with something that really shocked me. 1972. Now that's 53 years ago. The city of Las Vegas had just a little under 300,000 people lived in the metropolitan area. I want you to think that in 53 years, that population has grown to almost 3 million. In that same year, in 1972, Las Vegas welcomed almost 8 million visitors. In 2024, estimates show that nearly 58 million people made their way through Harry Reid International Airport. And that's not even counting the people like me that drove in there from Texas. But you know what's interesting about that? Every single one of us, you, me, everybody, we all go there to be entertained. We go there to enjoy ourselves. We go there to watch races, to see shows, to gamble, maybe if that's your thing. We go there to be entertained. And Americans and people in the world are hungry for more entertainment. You're probably watching this on a computer, and that computer requires electricity. Your phone, it requires electricity. Regardless of what people say, what I'm doing is entertainment. And we all want to be entertained. And entertainment takes energy. If you think about how energy really works, okay? You can say that, you know, renewables are the way to go. You can say that nuclear is the way to go. We can have all of these debates. But the biggest concern here is that we're all hungry for more and more entertainment, more and more devices. They all claim that these devices are made more energy efficient. Well, what good is it if all they do is make more devices? And there's more and more people using these devices. Did you know that 100 years ago, in the year 1924, people got a lot more sleep than what we got today? Or what we get today, I should say. Think about that. Do you know why? That was because most of the people throughout the world still didn't have electric. Now, I love electric. I use electric every day in my life. I'm using electric right now. The electric that I'm burning for the lights here in my studio, for my computer, for my camera gear, for my audio recording devices, all this stuff that I use to make these videos requires electric. And I pay for that electric. But am I taking more than what I'm giving back? Let's just suppose you're sitting in bed tonight watching this video on your phone. That's taking electric. Maybe you're watching on your laptop. Maybe you're watching it on your television. All of this stuff takes electric. And as I begin to think about this idea that we all want to be entertained, we all want to have something in our lives that keeps us going, that keeps us entertained. You know, I just bought recently a Kindle Scribe, okay? It's a pretty nice thing. I use it a lot. In 1924, if somebody wanted to storyboard something, if they even knew what storyboarding was, they did it on pen and paper. That takes energy too. Some type of energy. Now, we do it on an electric device. That's how this world works. We need more electric. We want more electric. But then something hit me when I was out in Las Vegas after driving the strip and everything else. I had this epiphany. So Kelly, my wife, and I, we were driving out to Rachel, Nevada, Area 51, to film some pieces out there for this season. And, for the short film project that I'm doing. And, it's really interesting. We passed all sorts of solar farms, wind turbines, all this other stuff. And then we passed a creek, the Pahranagat River. And I realized that there's water in the desert, just a little bit. And how this water sustained people in towns like Coyote Springs and Alamo, Nevada, and different towns throughout there. Water sustains people. Electric sustains people. What are we doing to protect it? Now, I know that some of you are going to argue with me about this, but the truth of the matter is, renewable energy technology just isn't there yet. I know some of you in Europe are going to be watching this thing and saying, oh, he's just an American that doesn't know. Look, I'm not a world's biggest fan of fossil fuels, okay? I'm not. You guys know that. But the truth of the matter is, why aren't we doing more? Why are we getting out of the Paris Agreement? Why are we getting out of all of these things? Why are we doing things backwards? The reason we're doing things backwards is because we want to be entertained. We want to be occupied. We want to have our minds filled with something. Every second we're awake, when we're asleep, we want to be occupied. We need to be fulfilled. We need to be entertained. Americans and people in general, I think, are demanding more entertainment and more complicated entertainment. As we were driving back from Area 51 in Rachel, Nevada, I could see the lights of Las Vegas. And I could see how people were down there on the strip doing whatever they do on the strip. I didn't stay on the strip. I don't like the strip. But it hit me when I realized that we're all pulling energy to be entertained and to be occupied and to fuel our jobs. I'm a journalist. I use plenty of energy every single day. Probably very little of it is renewable. So where does that leave us? That leaves us to pull off of fossil fuel and coal. And if there's anything, and probably a little bit of hydro and maybe some nuclear, whatever. But I want to tell you something. We need to get ourselves in gear. We need to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. And we need to find an alternative, because the biggest problem with oil and gas is we're probably going to run out of it before we find an alternative solution. It may not be within my lifetime, it may not be within your lifetime, but it'll probably be within the next couple of generations. And is technology advancing enough to keep up with the demand? Or are we just, as we say down here in Texas, our hair's on fire while our ass is catching? It seems like it. Here in Texas, we've been talking about water, and our governor, Greg Abbott, decided finally to make water an emergency item for his legislative priorities this year. We've been warning this man about this for a really long time. And he hasn't listened. But finally, something clicked. And he listened. And now he wants to, do all of these things that we should have already been doing. This man's been governor for a really long time now. And he's been hearing the warnings for a really long time now. And only now does he see it convenient to be able to take care of it. But maybe he's just being a typical human being. He's ignoring the problem until he absolutely has to address it. He's doing just barely enough to put a band-aid over the wound. You see, that doesn't totally stop the bleeding, and that never keeps the person from dying almost. Especially if it's a really bad wound. We've got to do more, folks. And this isn't just about oil, gas, nuclear, hydro, whatever. It's a clarion call to those of us who need to be in positions. Conserving is just not enough. We need those of us who are in positions to do things, to find new energy resources, need to do more to make it happen. We need to quit competing against each other and start doing more collaboration, because the collaboration that we're doing isn't enough. I think back to Las Vegas. I can see where the water line once was at Lake Mead. Now, it's way down. I think of Lake Medina here in Texas. It's not even a power plant lake. But you know, what I'm trying to tell you folks here is we need a wake-up call. And I think Mother Nature and I think humankind is giving it to us. We're just not smart enough to listen. Maybe we ought to clean out our ears and listen a little bit more before we use up every damn thing we got. We don't have much left. Well, our hair's on fire and our asses are catching. I guess all we can do is try to play catch up at this point. That's not a very good place to be. I'm Matt. This is my vlog. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to drop me a comment. Just leave me a thank you or a hell no or whatever you want to do. I'm not even going to ask you to subscribe. Just do the right thing. If you like to watch these videos, try to conserve the energy anywhere you can.